ओम जयति जगति मायां यस्य कायादवस्थे वचन रचनमेकं केवलं चाकलह्य ध्रुवपदमपि यातो यत्कृपातो ध्रुवोऽयं सकलकुशलपात्रं ब्रह्मपुत्रं नतोऽस्मि. We are trying to study Narada Bhakti Sutras here, and Narada in the beginning itself has told us that the bhakti he is propounding is absolutely different from all other bhaktis which you see in this world. He does not call them bhaktis. Later on in Sutra 56, he calls them Gauni Bhakti, bhakti in a secondary sense. And till then he says, please keep those aside and listen to the bhakti which I am propounding on behalf of all the acharyas which he has named in Sutra 83. And we saw that the first main difference between his bhakti is that he says it is towards the innermost reality. It is experienced as a strong love, a pull, so strong that it makes us transcend all the barriers which we have created, I and mine. And then he says the real nature of that bhakti is nothing but Advaita we have seen. Amrita he calls it. Amrita is immortality, Amrita is the name of Advaita, and Amrita is also means joy, bliss, Ananda, which is not impure, which is not mixed with pain, which is not temporary, a joy which is absolutely pure and permanent. That is the very nature of Brahman. So he says that is the inner nature of this bhakti. And I told you, it is nothing but self-centripetence. The self in every man is pulling the man who has gone outside towards himself. And then he has told us what happens to the man of realization. We have seen those things in detail, I am not going to repeat. And in the 7th Sutra, he has told the other side of bhakti. That means if it is a pull inside, it will check the mind from going outside. And so, the common desires in the world cannot exist with the bhakti, or his bhakti cannot coexist with any so-called desires in life. His bhakti is of a different type. Then, there he has used the word nirodha. And nirodha generally means suppression or repression. So he is explaining from Sutra 8 onwards that that is not what he meant by nirodha. And so he told the first meaning of nirodha is Loka Veda Vyapara Nyasa. All our secular activities and all sadhana has to be totally dedicated to God. I should not intervene there. I am doing this activity is anti-spiritual. I am doing this sadhana is anti-spiritual. So all this is totally dedicated to the Lord. He is the doer, even of my secular activities. He is the doer of my sadhana. Remember here one sentence from Swami Vivekananda. He says that if one word I have spoken which has benefited anybody in the world, it belongs to Sri Ramakrishna. And if I have spoken any word which has harmed somebody somewhere, it is mine. So that is the philosophical truth that when I enters this shallow, illusory I, it spoils the whole thing. And when God is working, then everything is all right. That is the proper attitude of work. Otherwise, anyway. So he explained that Nirodha, which I am proposing, is not a suppression or repression, but it is the total dedication. And further, he explains Nirodha in 2 more words, and he says, Tasmin Ananyata, Tad Virodeshu Udasinata. Tasmin Ananyata means that we should feel we are not separate from God. We should feel that there is nothing in me which is not belonging to God. Simultaneously, there is nothing in the world which is not God. That is the culmination of jnana. There is nothing in the world which is not God. There is nothing in me which is not God. This is called ananyata. And this is the nature of Nirodha which he has proposed. There is no suppression or repression here. Then the third thing about Nirodha is very practical sense that in spite of all this, we will find some inimical forces in our personality and also in outside society. They will try to suppress, we are not suppressing, they will try to suppress or obstruct this flow of real bhakti. And then how to deal with them? He says, don't be carried away by them, neither fight with them. Ignore them, and then only you can proceed. So tadvirodeshu udasinata. Now he further explains how this ananyata is achieved. And he says that Anya Shrayanam Tyago Ananyata. You may have husbands and wives and house and building and property, but don't take anything in the world as the support of your life. Your support of life, Anya. That means nothing other than God. God alone is your support. If you take anything as the support of your life, you become mortgaged, you become weak. And so, the Nirodha which he has proposed is Ananyata, and how to achieve this Ananyata is by giving up any other thing in the mind as support. And then, how this Tadvirodishu Udasinata is achieved? He says, mind, think, how you, within that situation which is Virodhi, how you can find something which is favorable to your bhakti, which is favorable to your love of God, and follow that. In that way, you can find even among the worst inimical conditions or inimical forces in your own mind. Now, later on, he will explain the common inimical forces we know are Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar. And Sri Ramakrishna says, why not turn him to God? So Narada says, within this Virodhis, you can find Anukul. Instead of having Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsar for anything in the world, apply them to God. God can absorb everything which you want. So these are the various means of Virodhishu Udasinata being achieved by find something which is Anukul in that condition or situation. Then, because he has described bhakti in the best possible way, he knows what effect it has produced on us. Now, here I will propose, I will tell you, there are two obstacles in spiritual life, two main obstacles. First is that the absolute nature of God, the absolute nature of self, the absolute nature of bhakti is very difficult to comprehend. When we say God alone is real, world is unreal, we are not ready to believe it. 99.9% people do not believe it. The first difficulty is to have a conviction of the absolute nature of the reality. Suppose by God's grace, by our effort, by Guru's grace, we come to accept the absolute truth. And then another difficulty comes. It is seen in the lives of many Vedantis or Bhaktas. What is that? We forget that we are in the relative plane. When we become convinced of God, the reality, we forget that we have yet to realize it. And then so many philosophies come. Conviction is realization, understanding. It was not a debate, but I had a seminar, you may say, in Trichy 3 years back. And some people from some place were speaking. And he quoted some shlokas from Vivek Chudamani and was telling, if we understand nature of God enough, There is no other experience. I said, how this is? Most of us understand Brahma Satya Jagat Mithya. Has it affected even iota of our life? Understanding is not knowing. Knowing means realizing. Knowing means experiencing. Understanding may be a part. Yogatmananji has given a comment in last lecture in chat that understanding, conviction, he says, is not realization, is a beautiful point, but conviction is the starting point of realization. I deny that. Many people, they have no intellect enough, and yet they realize God. These two are separate things, mind you. Experience in the heart and what Buddhi tells us are two different things. When Swamiji was asked, is Vedanta practical? He says it has been practiced first and theorized afterwards. When Buddha attained his realization, after that he sat thinking, what I have realized, what is my philosophy? So philosophy and experience are two different lines. Need not be that first we understand and then we realize. The pull of reality in a pure mind is so strong. You will realize first, then this buddhi, Swamiji has equated buddhi with a scavenger. Buddhi can clean the road, it will not lead us forward. He says, wherever there is a tussle between buddhi and heart, follow heart. So, it is not necessary that intellectual understanding first, conviction first, first or second does not come there. For a pure mind, the pull is so strong, he may not understand anything, who is pulling me and what is happening. But if the mind is pure, he will find it is God who was pulling you. And the pull is nowhere outside, it is pull inside. And he may realize, and then his buddhi may work what I have realized. Simultaneously, it can work. Buddhi first, realization afterwards. So many alternatives are there. I heard this in many places that first let us intellectually understand or be convinced, then we'll do sadhana. And I have seen very few people doing that. The mistake in intellectual conviction is that it makes us forget that we have to realize. It makes us wrongly believe as if we are realized. In the joke I told you that if you study homeopathy while reading books, all the symptoms are seen in us. So here Narada is telling us that by my telling what has happened, conviction may not be the proper word even, dharana. You have conceived. You have conceived what is bhakti. By Narada's wonderful description, all of us have conceived bhakti. Conception is different mind. Understanding, conviction, they're intellectual things. Conviction is in the heart. This conception grows in the heart. Anyway, I need not deliberate on this point more. I hope you understood it. So, Narada has understood that his delineation of bhakti in these 11 sutras, including the practical aspects, has created a deep impression in our heart. And here the second mistake comes. We believe in the absolute, we feel as if we have gained it. There is a big gap still. So Narada is telling in Sutra 12, Bhavatu Nishchaya Dardayat Urdhvam Shastra Rakshana. If a firm conviction has come in you, now you start sadhana by following Shastra. Now here I have to admit I made an error in my last lecture. I won't call it a mistake, a small error. After conviction, Shastra. And I told you, up to realization, Shastra. And I told you, after realization, no restriction. Here, let me make a correction. Shri Ram Krishna has said, toward the end, the mind becomes the Guru. Here in Narad Bhakti Sutra, those who have the text, please open Sutra 49. In the second chapter, Narada is asking us what is this sadhana, how to achieve this bhakti, and what is the inside changes which this bhakti causes us. And there in Sutra 49, you will see, Yo Vedan api sannyasati. Veda is the general term applied to Shastras here, not Vedic Karmakanda. He has never meant it. Everywhere he says Loka Vedeshu, Veda means Shastra. So he says Vedan api sannyasati. Swamiji has said the glory of Vedas is that they are the only scriptures in the world who says that let the man go beyond me. Let the man of relation sit on my head. That is the words in the Vedas. Sannyasi or the man of realization is on my head, he says. So a point comes in life when you need not follow the Shastra. Your life becomes a Shastra before realization. And that is why Sri Ramakrishna said toward the end, the mind itself will become a Guru. So when I said that conviction is not realization, after conviction, Shastra is necessary. After realization, Shastra is not necessary. All this is correct. But before realization, there will come a point when Shastras will become unnecessary because we have fallen into the current of love. Now, we have to read this Sutra 14, and we have a question to Narada, and that question is Lokopi Tavadeva. There are two parts of this sutra. Lokopi Tavadeva, Vajanadi Vyaparastu Ha Sharira Dharanavadi. There is a two in the second part. Let us think of the first part first. We are asking, you see, there are Lokik niyam. There are social or worldly rules. How long we have to follow them? That is our question. Now, social or worldly rules. What value they have? They do not allow a man to become an animal. They do not allow you to fall down. You are living in society. You are living in a family. And if you do not observe the rules even then, you have an attachment, but you do not feel your duty. If this is the case, you have become an animal. So the social or the secular rules, up to what time they have to be followed? Till you have flown in the bhakti. Not always. A time comes when the social rules, they do not help you to go forward. Absolutely not. Their function is to check you from going down, but they do not help you to go up. So when Narada describes the sadhana of bhakti in the same section as we read the 49, there if you see in the 47, if you see, is progressing in bhakti. In the second chapter, what is bhakti sadhana and what are the inner changes called by sadhana, that we shall take when the time comes. But because here it has come, yo vikta sanam sevate, yo loka bandham unmolayati is his word. Loka bandham, the restrictions made by society, he uproots and throws them out, he says. He uproots, the sadhaka uproots all the rules of society and throws them away. Uproots and throws away, unmolayati. So, and then in 49 we get that Vedadapi Sannyasati. So, Lokopi Tavadeva means the social restrictions, rules are to be followed up to the point you did not have bhakti. When you get the real bhakti, when you are flowing towards God directly, then local rules become an obstruction and you have to throw them overboard. So the question how far we have to follow the Lokik rules is explained by Narada here, Lokopi Tavadeva. Up to the point you have got bhakti. Up to the point you are flowing in the current of bhakti. Till then, follow the social restrictions because they allow you, if they do not allow you to go down, follow your prescribed duties, follow your secular laws, they will not allow you to go down. But when you float in the current of bhakti, when you are being pulled strongly towards the innermost reality, throw them overboard. So, Lokopi Tavadeva, we understood. Now, because Narad is able to explain everything, that is, after conviction, you have to follow Shastras. Laukik Niyam, up to you get into the flow. So we ask him another question. How long we have to take food? How long we have to drink? And we have to breathe. We have to, you may say, Shankaracharya will call it Sharika needs. How long that will carry? That is says, Bhojanadi Vyaparastu. But Bhojanadi Vyapar. Vyapar means functions, work. Bhojan and like that other works. Eating, drinking, breathing, and cleaning ourselves like this. The ordinary bodily duties. He said that is related to body. So you have to follow it till the body is there. There your calculation of whether I have got bhakti or not, that does not come in. Bhojanadi vyaparastu a sharira dharanavadi. So long as you are holding on to a body, so long you have to eat, so long you have to follow the bare necessities of the body. Here also there is a inner current. Suppose I do not have body consciousness, then where you are asking the question? Sri Krishna, when he sat for Nirvikalp Samadhi, not 6 months, huh? He did for 6 months, but his sankalp was to do it permanently. Then did he care whether the body will exist or not? So a man in a high state of realization never cares for his body. You will say that if you do not do this, body will not exist. Let it not exist. I am not the body. So we make a distinction there. Sharira dharanavadi, so long as you hold to the concept of the body, so long as you have the body consciousness, so long as you feel some association or identification with the body, till then you have to eat. Now, some persons are known. I will give an example. Shri Ram Krishna's disciple, Dr. Nag, Durgacharan Nag Mahasaya, did not take bath for several years of his life because one particular problem of headache was there. He does not become dirty by that. He is not at all aware of his body. You see his life. When it comes to Belur Swamiji teaching Vedas stops and says, let us all gather and study the person. So, there are people who have no care for the body. But so long as you have body consciousness, you must follow the bodily rules. They are nothing to do with how much bhakti you have got. They are so lokopi tavadeva bhujanadi vyaparastu asharira dharanavati. So again I go back to Yogatmanji's problem. Yes, in Narad Bhakti he is telling after conviction follow the Shastras, but he is not telling that first have conviction and then follow the Shastras. He is expecting that his delineation has produced a conviction in us. We told about Prahlada. Prahlada was born Jnani and perfect. Anyway, so let alone that, here we end the first section of the first chapter. First chapter name was Bhakti Swarupam, and the first section also was Bhakti Swarupam. Up to 7 we got Bhakti Rupa and associated things up to 11, and some other misunderstandings to be clear up to 14. Now we come to the second section of the Narada Bhakti Sutra. First chapter, second section. First chapter is Bhakti Swarup. Now all these things were inside things, totally subtle field, whether Amruta or inner pull, nothing of this was seen outside. All this was felt by the sadhak's personality, by the sadhak's heart. But then the question arises, does it not express itself in life? Can we not understand that such a man is real bhakta? So, in the next section, the heading is given is Bhakti Lakshanani. Lakshana means sign or symptoms whether the man is on the right path. Whether the man has got bhakti from outside, what will the signs or symptoms? Inside flow, we have discussed up to 11. Outside, in his mind, in his body, how we shall know that he is having bhakti? So that is the second section. And here, Narada, as we find in Sri Krishna, is comprehensive and harmony among so many ways. You see how he starts the second section? Lakshanani Vachyante Nana Mataveda. Tad Lakshanani, Bhakti Lakshanani Vachyante. They are spoken or expressed by word. Bhakti Swarup was not expressed even by word. But Lakshanani Vachyante Nana. Nana means in a variety of ways. Why when the bhakti is the same, why the lakshanas are different? Minds are different. So in different minds, they will be expressed in different way. Mata Veda. What is Mata? Mata is not our vote. Mata is not our opinion. How the opinion is formed? Because you have thought. Mata is the past participle of the activities of the mind. What has come as a result of your thinking? That is Mata. Everybody's mind is different, so everybody comes to a different conclusion. Bhakti is same, but Bhakti as he has defined, no change in that. But in expression, everybody's mind becomes different, and so they are told differently. All the acharyas which he spoke, again he said they are ekmat and bhakti, but among the lakshanas, they will be different. So the first sutra, instead of telling some lakshanas, prepares our mind to understand that lakshanas can be many. Lakshanas are many, and not we have decided. The acharyas have decided, and the acharyas have described lakshanas in different ways because the minds are different. Now he tells some of them in the 16th sutra. Pujadishu anuragaiti parasharya. Now, who is Parasharya? Parashara's son. Who has been given this name? Because we know him as Vyasa, and there are several Vyasas. His original name is Krishna Dvaipayan Vyasa. It is difficult to know. But Narada tells Parashara's son, so that we will not mix up with the other Vyasa. Parasharya, what he tells us, Puja Dishu Anurag. Not Anurag in Puja. Through Puja, his love will be expressed. Love or bhakti for God, innermost God, will be expressed in some lives as love in puja adi, other matters. When I give examples, you will understand. The brightest example we know is an incident from the life of Sri Krishna's father, Shudiram Chattopadhyay. When Shudiram Chattopadhyay was in difficult situation, his nephew, his sister's son, Ramchand, was helping him financially. And other than financial help, he had grown from a child to a man in Shudiram's house only. So Shudiram had some special affection for him, not because of money. So now and then Ramchand would visit his uncle, or sometimes Shudiram would go and find out or spend a few days maybe with Ramchand. So like that one day, how much distance? Lot of distance. In those days, people were very good in walking. So 20 miles, 25 miles, nothing for them. They will walk whole day and reach. So Kshudiram starts to go to Ramchand. Ramchand was in Medinipur, Kshudiram is in Kamarpukur. So he walks. Now, what were those days? What we call the fall season, leaves falling. Now, in Kamarpukur, Kshudiram was not getting bare leaves to worship Mahadeva. Bilwa, the trees of Bilwa had become barren, and he was finding it very difficult every day because he used to worship Panalinga in his house. So he found it very difficult. That was the situation. Now he is going to Ramchand, and midway he reaches a village where he finds trees full of bilwa leaves. Because they are not constant season. Some trees will have leaves earlier, some will have later. So in his village, the trees had no leaves, but in a particular village in the midway, he finds, and he forgets going to Ramchand. But he is not forgetting everything. He goes to the village, that village, purchases a small basket, purchases a towel, makes the towel wet. All these things he remembers properly, and plucks as many bay leaves he can and covers them with the wet towel and comes back to Kamarpukur. Ramchand gone. Now his wife Chandramani, and he is of such a serious temp in that mode because he is filled with the idea that I will be able to worship Mahadeva. So after he finishes puja with his heart's content, then he sits for food. Then Chandramani finds that, let me ask him. She said, what happened to Ramchand? He said, oh, I will go another day. Now this is Puja Dishu Anurag. His love for God, it is not love for puja. Love for God is expressed as his puja. Now there is a word Adi. Adi, what Adi means? It should be of the type of puja because it is coupled with puja. In Ramakrishna Mission or in many temples, you will know there is a pujari and there is another man whom we call Jogadi, helper of the puja. Now say plucking flowers, even growing trees in one's own garden for flowers, plucking flowers, arranging material for puja, this also. And we have seen people with such devotion they do this. I will give an example here also. I was in the training center in Belur Math. The main Jogadi, there was a team in Belur Math. The main Jogadi was, I do not remember his son's name, we knew him as Prabodh Maharaj. He was Mahapuruji's disciple. He was of short height. In old age, he had become bent to appear more short. and he had 2, 3 assistants with him. In the rainy season, he used to put on canvas shoes, raincoat, take a small basket and a stick with another stick tied to it to pluck flowers. He used to climb the lower branches of tree and pluck flowers from the uh, higher branches. Rainy season. So he slipped one day and fell down. And bad nails were there, rusted nails, which pricked him from below. Somehow he returned to his room and sent for the doctors. Doctor came, dressed properly, bandaged, gave him ATS injections, and told Maharaj for 3 days, don't move. Then I remember in those days, Bharat Maharaj, Swami Abhayananji was the Perumat manager, Swami Gambhiranji was the general secretary. Both of these elderly Swamis came to his room and said, Maharaj, you have become very old now and you have trained enough assistants. Let them carry. You retire now. He did not speak one word. And 3 days he did not move from his bed. Fourth day, to wonder of wonders, same canvas shoes, same raincoat, same stick, and he is going to pluck flowers. The brahmacharis of the training center were wonderstruck. They caught him and said, Maharaj, big people had come to you. They told you to retire. He mildly said, they were not doctors. Na? Doctor told me, don't move for 3 days. I have not moved. Na. Now they could not question him further. But I questioned him further. Maharaj accepted. They are not doctors, but you have become old now. Na? I have to tell you whole thing. He said, your Swami, he has practically no eyes. Why he takes a class every day? Mahapuruji has told him take a class every day, so he takes. Mahapuruji has told me, serve God in this way, and that will be enough for you. Another word is that will be enough for you. In Bengali, তুই ঠাকুরের সেবা করবি ওতেই তোর হবে. So, you understand? Puja Dishu, Adi is this. I don't think he has ever done puja. But the Jogad prayer, tears come to my eyes even today thinking of this. Old man fell down and after 3 days again, same. I have seen him later on also. When he really became invalid and was in our Arogya. I am quoting this because at that time he is not restless. He cannot do now, so stop. But he could do, so he was doing. Now, his anuraga is for the ideal of life. His anuraga is for God, but that is expressed through this activity. You will find anyway. So I think I explained. Puja Dishu Anuraga iti Parasharya, prefaced by telling that there will be many. So he comes to the next now. Rathadishu iti Garga. Rathadishu iti Garga. Who is this Garga? He is Sri Krishna's Kulaguru. Yadav Karana's Kulaguru is Garga. No, Garga has his own opinion. In this matter, Bhakti is same. But his expression, Garga says it is expressed through Katha Adi. Katha means storytelling, singing, story listening to songs, all this comes under Katha Adi. And he is not, I have seen some Kathakaras trying to learn music, trying to learn this, trying to learn that. He does not have anurag in Katha. But through Katha, his anurag towards God flows. The brightest example is Narada himself. Narayan, 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 Narayan. He loves to talk. No, Katha should include a pravachan like me also. Talking about God, listening about God, Another bright example shall I give? In our Ramnam Sankirtan, the last shloka, it is about Hanumanji. Yatra yatra Raghunath Kirtanam Tatra Tatra Krutamastakанjalim Vashpavari Paripurna Lochanam Marutim Namata Rakshasantakam. Wherever Rama's name is sung, wherever, there, everywhere, with folded hands and tears of love flowing from his eyes, we find this Maruti, who is the killer of Rakshasas. I told one of my friends, a brahmachari in Nagpur, that I like this shloka very much. He said, this shloka is a rasabang. Why Maruti is described as a Rakshasantaka? All the bhakti is being described in it. I said, it is not rasabanga. It is the Maruti's character. He is not women like weeping everywhere. He is the Rakshasantaka. But when Rama's Kirtan is sung, he cannot contain himself. So you know, in the Ramakrishna Mission, there is a practice. When we chant Ramnam, we keep a asan separately for Hanumanji to sit. Because wherever Rama's name is sung, Hanumanji likes to hear that. Now, why? Because it is through Rama that he realized his goal of life. He is not particularly addicted to Rama. Through this Rama form, Hanumanji could realize his goal of life, and so he loves to listen to his glories. And so, I give example for both sides. Narada for singing, Hanumanji for listening. In our life, in our daily life, I remember when I was in Mumbai, there was a Bengali lady. I will not take her name because I do not know whether she exists today or not. In Mumbai ashram in Khar, there used to be lectures. There is a Dadar center in Mumbai where lectures were in Marathi. She used to regularly attend these lectures. When dilemma came, when at the same time there is a lecture in Khar and in Dadar, then where she will go? She had to select one of them. Otherwise, she did not miss any lecture. Katha Shravan is the form of bhakti. So, anyway, I think I've given enough examples, but this is not the only way. We have seen Khudiram in another way. So, Garg has told us, according to his mind, that the love which is called bhakti is expressed as Katha Kirtan, doing or listening. Now, there is another sage, Shandilya. We have a separate Shandilya Bhakti Sutra also. But like Narada in the Upanishads, Shandilya comes in the 14th section of the 3rd chapter of Chandogya Upanishad. Chandogya Upanishad, 3rd chapter, 14th section is called Shandilya Vidya. And there he has taught us bhakti in his own way, beautiful way. Now Narada is quoting him here. Chandilya is telling, now as I told you, if you are interested in puja, you may become extrovert, you may become Bahirmukh. I will give an example for that also. And from Ramakrishna Mission, one Swami was doing Thakur's puja, which center I do not remember. And he was cooking payasam for Thakur every day. He thought, I am cooking only one type of payas every day. How many types of payas are there in the world, in India? So he took a tour. He went to all the centers of Ramakrishna Mission to learn Kerala payas, Tamil Nadu payas, Andhra payas. Now, he loses his moorings. This is not Anuraga expressed. This is Anuraga in the puja, not Anuraga through the puja. Similarly, Katha Kirtan, I was telling you, they become expert in classical singing, they become expert in dancing, and they will do all the kirtanas. To check this, we use Chandilya's definition. Chandilya's description of the outside symptoms in a man who is real bhakta. So he says all this is all right, puja katha is all right, but it should not be at the cost of Atmarati avirodena iti Chandilya. Atmarati is the main thing. Love for the innermost reality is the main thing. That your innermost reality you are seeing outside in Krishna or Ramakrishna or Shiva is a different thing. And if your activities oppose your inner, pull toward the innermost reality, then it is not bhakti. So he has given a negative expression of the life of a bhakta. He says, Pujadi Kathadi is all right, so long as they are not opposed to his Atmarati. He is feeling a pull inside. He is feeling a pull towards his own reality, outside, inside, whatever you like to call it. Atman is inside does not mean Atman is not outside, but his reality. So it should not oppose the pull to reality. Then your puja, katha, or anything else is all right, you say. This is the definition given by Shandilya. And Narada feels this is also very important. So he has included it in telling that the Lakshana Nivachante Nana Mataveda. Now here, Narada wants to tell his own idea of the symptoms of life. Narada's Stu. Now this Stu has not come to contradict other things because he himself has told about the other things. But Narada has a special way of expression. Narada's Stu. Tad arpita akhilacharata tad vishmarane parama vyakulata iti. Any questions, please? This is a very delicate point which you are going to deal with. If you want me to proceed, I shall proceed. If you have to ask anything, Yogatmananda, I did not oppose your idea, but I proposed a small correction. So long as Narada is telling it is correct, that after Nishchay Darde you have to follow Shastra. But I was telling independently if you think the conviction, anyway. Any question, please? I think still time is there, and let me proceed what Narada is trying to tell.
Maharaj,
Yes, please.
Maharaj,
Your question, Atma Priyanji?
not Atma, Ekarthananda.
Huh?
I have,
Okay.
I have put one question there, Maharaj. You told that conviction is not is not the beginning of this thing. That time, yes, Maharaj.
Now, yes.
What is the role of
That is what I
Manana
was referring to Yogatmanda. Yes. Now, we have heard the word intellectual conviction. And intellect works in his own way, heart works in his own way. And I told you the example. Buddha realized first, and then he thought what I realized. So, for a man of purity, I will try to take an example. Sri Ramakrishna's disciple Adbhutananda Swami. Whether his intellect was strong, his heart was extremely pure. Gopal Verma is quoted as having read no scriptures. She did not form any intellectual conviction. She was following the tradition. She was doing japa for 30 years. And then when she met Sri Ramakrishna, it changed into experience. So I was telling that it is not always necessary to have intellectual conviction. That was my point. A man, and the other side I am telling, I have seen many monks who think that first let us intellectually understand and then we have, and I found after intellectual conviction they stop there itself. They do not proceed. So this pull of the heart is different. Independently it can work. I have given you some examples now. Gopal Verma is the brightest example. Sri Krishna told her once, you tell whatever you experience, you tell to Narendra, and she is telling and weeping, sobbing side by side, asking Narendra, telling that I am an illiterate woman. I do not know anything of your philosophy. Please tell me whether my experiences are right or wrong. And Narendra, the philosopher, was weeping along with her. And he said, remember his words, Mother, what you experience is true. So experience is true, whether we are intellectually judging it or not. That is my point. So if we can get into experience without forming an intellectual awareness, one can proceed. And the brightest example I have given is Gopal Verma. Many such people can be found. Now, one more idea I will add here. Huh? I have just now quoted Nagmashi, not in this class. Huh? Nagmashi came to Belur Math and Swami Vivekananda stopped teaching of Upanishad and he is using a line. Please remember that line. Vayam tattvanveshad hatah madhukaratvam khalu kriti. Vayam tattvanveshad hatah madhukaratvam khalu kriti. Tattvanveshad. By intellectually trying to get the tattva, we are killed. But oh Madhukara, Madhukara is the bee. He is addressing Nagmahashay. You are really successful. You have sucked the bee of the reality called Sri Ramakrishna without going through this intellectual rigmarole. So there are examples and examples where now sometimes the conflict comes because in the modern age we have become so much addicted to this process called thinking and intellect. So our doubts whether this is or that is that, these doubts come. But a man of pure heart proceeds so directly through experience. And so, along with Gopalma, I have quoted Swamiji about Nagmashi. Swamiji telling, Vayam Tattvan Veshad Hata. That means we spent so, it is not killed. But Swamiji is telling like that. That we spent many years analyzing Sri Ramakrishna and you, oh we, you have sucked the honey from Sri Ramakrishna. So that is my point, Maharaj. That conviction in many cases may becomes the starting point of realization, but two sides are there. Many people feel conviction is realization, that is wrong. They stop at conviction, that is wrong. And the second side is that one can sidetrack conviction if one has the proper love, if one has the proper attraction to the reality, he goes straight. So, for that I have quoted two people, Gopal Verma and Nagmashi. Okay, Maharaj? So, I better close it here because the next sutra is really wonderful and that gets connected. Several sutras we'll have to read after that. So that we'll take up in the next class. Here I'm making a small announcement. You might have seen in the chat today. Tomorrow I have an online lecture, not university. There is a NGO in Delhi related to Swami Vivekananda activities. And they have asked me to speak at the same time. I have given this time because it is a blank day, 5:30 to 6:30 on mind and its control. And I sent the link to several of our hearers today and asked everybody of them to put it on the chat section today. You might see it in chat section. The full invitation is printed. In the invitation below, the link also is given. Okay? Lecture is on. There is a program, not only a lecture. There will be an opening song and question and answers and all that for total 1 hour. Om Jayati Jagati Mayam Yasya Kaya Namaste Vachana Rachana Mekam Kevalam Chakalaya Dhruvapadamapi Yato Yat Krupato Dhruvoyam Sakala Kushala Patram Brahmaputram Natosmi Om Shanti 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 Hare Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam